Our micro tip for today is using the boxes, those teacher helps that are inside of our lesson plans. For example, in Doctrine and Covenants section 93, it talks about using the attributes of Christ and listing those. So here's an example of how I might do this in my class. I've read through section 93 and I found there are several words that are used over and over and over again. Fullness, light, glory, truth. There might be more, but those are some that I saw 9 or more times. And I thought, okay, these are attributes of Christ. So what I might do is make a little competition in the beginning of class. So I might have them look through and highlight that word as many times as they can find it. I would just choose probably one. Then, after a certain amount of time, I would call them all back and say, okay, how many did you find? And they'll be so excited and go through how many they found. Then what I would do is have them start listing the verses that they found it in. And then I would ask them, okay, what does this have to do with Jesus Christ? Talk to me about this characteristic of Christ. And I might do this one of two ways. Either I'd have them just start listing it, or I'd break them into pairs now that we've got all these sectioned off, and have them go into those verses independently and then come back and teach us about that. And then as they're testifying or teaching us, I would thank them for teaching or thank them for testifying. All the while, I want to make sure that this aligns with the purpose, which in section 93, that first one, section 1 through 22, the purpose is to help students deepen their understanding of some of the roles and characteristics of Jesus Christ. Now, this one aligns beautifully, right? Word for word what we're looking for. However, you can change this up and use this same tactic through some of the examples of Christ using that attribute. And then you can talk about whatever the purpose is. At the end of the lesson, I'd probably bring it back to this and invite the students to live one of those characteristics today. Which one do they need the most? Which one are they most excited about? Which one meant the most to them? I'd give them a few minutes to either set an alarm on their phone, send a text message to a friend about what they're doing, and think of something specific and intentional that they want to do, just one thing they want to do to exemplify that characteristic of Jesus Christ today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have them report. It's really important that you have that follow-up, right? They need to know that you're serious about this. And sometimes they might forget, and that's okay. Chances are, if you keep doing it, they'll start remembering. And then you as the teacher, you need to shake up the way that you ask. You don't want to ask, hey, what was your experience living this characteristic of Christ every day? Instead of just having them report, you might ask, what were some blessings that you saw from living this characteristic? Or, how did you come to know Christ better because you chose to live this characteristic with him today? At the end, you bear your testimony, bring it all back together for them, or maybe one of the youth closes it with their testimony for you. Either way, this is a great way to give some time and get the youth in those scriptures looking for something very specific. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you can put that into your lesson this week. I'll see you next week. Bye.